On this episode of Into the Unknown, I am joined with a very special guest, Mr. Derek Wagner. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Hey, man, I can't complain. I love it. I love it. And to kick off the show, I always like to talk, and I always stress the importance of networking and getting to know people. So, how do we know each other?
We know each other from rugby. Rugby community is, one of the best communities around, and I think it was maybe 2012.
Rugby is always a good time, and then of course, Eau Claire becomes a big factor in both of our lives. I was there from what 2010 to 2017. Got my undergrad and my master's there, so it's been cool to see that program for both the men's and women's side grow, fluctuate, and it's been exciting to see kind of more of a distant view now, obviously, but it's still really cool, man.
Yeah, and now with me, coaching there, it's just been kind of crazy for the women's side. So it's kind of grown a lot.
I love it. I love it. So, man, I just want to know what is that comic book issue number one origin story? Who are you?
Yeah, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I went to a city school there, city schools there, Milwaukee Public Schools, and went to college at UW Stevens Point, and then moved to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where I've been for the last 10 years. It's going to be 10 years now this summer. So doing a lot of different things. In college, I got my major was in communications. I obviously did rugby, like we talked about, at UW Stevens Point, and then from there, I started out doing, after school. I couldn't find a great job right after. Like I was in summer in Eau Claire, my first summer ever. I was like, oh, I'll just kind of start wherever I can, and I started out selling shoes and working at a baseball team selling tickets. So it was like, from the start, it was kind of tough, but then I ended up getting a job that I worked at for like 8 years in sales, and then after that, it was where I'm at now. So and yeah, so it's been good.
I love that. I love that, man. So, where are you at now? What are you doing?
I work for a company called Jamf. They do like management of Apple devices, and I focus on small and medium sized businesses um, throughout Ontario. So I do all new logo stuff for them. So that's a lot of fun. Been doing that for about a year and a half now. So I'm technically remote, but there's an office here in Eau Claire that I go into all the time. And then the other part of my life is coaching rugby. Do that it just got started here in September timeframe. So from September to December in fall, and then in spring I'll do it February to May. Is where I'm volunteering coaching at UW-Eau Claire for the women's team.
And so, since you've been there, since you started, when did you quite start with the women's team up there?
Actually, just when I graduated college. So I graduated college, moved to Eau Claire, and then that fall is when I started with the women's side. So 2013 fall is when I started, and 10 years later, it's 2023 fall, and we're off and running a decade later.
Your team has seen quite a bit of success. Can you elaborate a little bit on some of that success?
Yeah, for sure. Over the last, I think it was really, we've seen numbers grow a ton. So, I think about why we do this in the first place of growing the game. So having more and more people learn rugby, be a part of rugby. But yeah, I think after 2020, uh, we saw a big growth in the team and in the sport at UW-Eau Claire. So it's funny. So we play for a conference called Great Waters Conference here in Wisconsin. So we have got Wisconsin teams, Illinois teams, and Michigan teams. So we've got 19 teams in our whole conference. So it's really, really big. Um, Over the last it took us, we went to the conference final uh, 3 times in a row and lost 3 times in a row. So that was great, so much fun. Um, and then last year was really all the work, and think about it as just continuing to be persistent, doing, what can we improve on, what can we do to continue to get better. And we finally won our conference. So after a fourth try, we won our conference, and then after that, we went into nationals playoffs, and we did really well. And we ended up winning nationals last year in our division. So we're like covered under our like governing bodies called NCR, and we play in the Division 2 there. So actually, last year was the first Division 2. First time Division 2 has been like a thing in NCR. So we won nationals in that division.
And that's no easy feat. I mean, I remember seeing the scores, watching some of the games. You guys aren't playing random teams. You're playing some pretty high caliber teams, especially for a school I would say is relatively small as Eau Claire.
We played Marquette, we Roger Williams out east. We played Cincinnati on the way there. So it was kind of crazy how the different teams that we played across the nation. So it's a lot of fun. But one of my favorite things is that we played about leading up to from our conference playoffs to our nationals playoffs last year. We played 6 games, right? And within those 6 games, we outscored teams 392-0 in 6 games. So I was just, it's something really proud of that, just from the fact that, not letting teams score, and just defensively how well we were able to play and what we were able to accomplish, and really a special side that we had last year. So it really excited. We did lose a couple great players, but I really think it's just the beginning of what we can accomplish.
Absolutely, that's remarkable. I mean, outscoring opponents to that level, and defense wins championships, I suppose.
Right, right. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's been like one of the big differences is, not only like setting up a good offensive structure, but just being able to um, tackle as best as we can and turn the ball over when we can as well.
So, as you mentioned, losing the conference championship 3 times in a row, what lessons from that experience helped you guys propel you to the next level?
Throughout that time too, it kept feeling like we were taking a step every time. Like our first loss, we played UW-Oshkosh, and we lost by, I think, about 60 or so. It didn't really feel like it, felt even crazy just being there. The next year, we lose to UW-Oshkosh by about 30. And then the third year, we play Marquette, and we lose to them in a really tight match. We lose to them by about 5. So we were feeling like it was just step by step by step. And then the fourth year, we won 29-0. So gosh, what did we learn? I mean, in the middle of it, you got COVID. I think COVID was such a big step for me in my coaching time frame, because it helped me focus and like focus, learn, but also just like I always went back to, what do I miss the most right now? That like, what can I do to get better in that? And what I'm always said was I missed the most was rugby, was coaching. And so like, what can I do to get better within that and take that more seriously? So during that time, like just getting back, being able to practice even during COVID, like during spring COVID, we were practicing in mass from,
Yeah.
that spring, that fall, we were able to practice. So just being able to have something to do and look forward to all the time. I mean, I'd say we were one of the only schools in the state that like allowed us to still come together all masked up, but like it was such a huge benefit for the club, comparatively, to be able to bring new people on and continue to grow rugby as best as possible, even though like we had players who started that spring who practiced with us for a year and then didn't play games until like that very next year. So it's just kind of crazy to think about on that side of things. That next year that we played Marquette and lost, it felt like a arrow through the heart, because you're like, oh man, through COVID we did all this and we grew this and that, but in the end, we were able to come out on top, and kind of that always was a big hurdle for me and big goal for me to win our conference, just because it's not something the club had ever done. And when I started, it felt like there was a lot of schools ahead of us, but we kind of climbed the ladder from there 10 years on.
Keep pursuing, keep climbing.
After we won our conference in Madison, we went to Indiana. I think it was Elk Grove, Indiana. We played Cincinnati, and it was like a top eight. Yeah, winner went on to a final or a semifinal and a final in Houston. So we ended up playing Cincinnati, and then going to Houston weekend of December, and then playing Roger Williams, and then from there we played the winner of Marquette and um, Marquette and Wayne State. So it was interesting. What's crazy is that in spring, so with rugby we play 15s in fall and then sevens in spring. So the spring before, last year, so 20, I guess it's 22 spring, we played really well in sevens. We went to the national title game in sevens and lost in against Roger Williams in New Orleans. So we knew that like we had a really great team, but that like run showed us that we could play really high at a national level, which was not something that was kind of like in our radar. We knew we had a good team, but like nationally, it never kind of put that together, right? So playing in a national final, and then we ended up losing that final in sevens nationals. It kind of felt heartbreaking, because you never know if you're gonna be able to go back and win a national championship and call yourself a national champion. It's like, oh man, this is our shot, and we didn't play great, but really played really hard. But like then going into that fall, we had a really great fall, and we see the same team that we just lost to. We get them in the semifinal in 15s, in Houston, and then we were able to beat them. And after that, it was I felt pretty confident going into the final from there. So we win the semifinal. We beat Roger Williams 44-0, and then in the final we ended up playing Marquette again. So we beat Marquette in the conference final, and then had a rematch with them in the nationals final. On the very next day. So with rugby, it's like when you got to play two games in one weekend,
Yes,
it's so hard, and it's like depth is going to be the biggest thing. And yeah, then we had a really great day. We ended up winning the national final 78-0. So for us, it was good. It was awesome to see. But yeah, really great players, great team, just being able to come together, one goal. But really the way we went about it, I think to me was just sticking to day to day. I think we all had it in the back of our heads that we thought we could go on and do really well, but no one said it out loud, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
To
You
me,
can't,
it
you
was
can't say it out loud.
like it was like when a no hitter's going on, everybody knows a no hitter's going on, but let's not talk about it. Let's just keep doing our thing. Let's go inning by inning, out by out. And when I think about practices and games, our focus was that game, that practice, to continue to develop and continue to really improve from there.
100%. And you guys look good doing it. I got to give a shout out to Credo Rugby. Those are my guys down there. So they always do great with the uniforms, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love Credo. I love those kits were amazing. It was cool because like we didn't get those kits until the semifinal and final. So to like have these brand new kits going into Houston, just I think just gave us a huge boost to say like this is who we are now. And, and we looked amazing and felt good. And yeah, some of the best rugby kits that I've ever had. So love it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. So, on everyone's journey, their path, they have a choice to go east, a choice to go west. Make a decision. You don't really know the outcome. Can you give me a time in your life where you made a decision not knowing the outcome and how it worked out?
First thing that popped in my head was when I chose to go to Stevens Point for school, for college. Obviously college is always a tough time, but and tough thing and a big choice in your life, but you don't really know how that can affect you or how important that is, right? So being a city kid from Milwaukee, inner city kid from Milwaukee, yeah, from Milwaukee Hamilton High School, like I had zero people come to Stevens Point, that I knew in my class. Somebody from the year ahead of me, had been talking about it a ton. We did a tour of the place, and you know, I don't know why I was like, yeah, sure, I want to go to Stevens Point, and like I'd love to like hang out with all these people that I don't know, and it's not like I'm big into hunting, and for Stevens Point, it's like their number one thing is natural resources, and that's not my major. Like communications is like on the other side of the campus, and it's kind of like well, we also have com. But to me, like Stevens Point was a big thing about like just kind of creating a new and creating uh, like a new image for myself, and to meet people that didn't know who I was in high school, and just being able to create that for my own and to go from there. So whether it's I started playing rugby day one there, it was always something I just felt like I could do really well in. I was always really good at pickup football and tackling. You put pads on a 5'5", 160-pound guy, and they look ridiculous. So I always like trying to tackle without pads. So I always just wanted to try it, and that's what I ended up doing. And then at point, just finding my friends, finding my learning how to study, learning how to do school, because I just feel like that was you can feel so far behind when you go from high school to college without some of those tools. And no, I think point just like set me up for success from what I do now.
I love that. I love that. So, title of the podcast, Into the Unknown. What is your version of stepping into the unknown? What are you working on? What's going on in your life?
It's funny, like when I think about stepping into the unknown, I kind of think about my college experience with Stevens Point of like um all my friends now like are these natural resource majors. They help me with like going camping and stuff, and like it's like summer camp almost. Like, okay, so how do you build a fire? And that's been really great. But I think right now, like rugby is obviously really important for me, and just like teaching new people how to play rugby is really hard, and something that we're focused on right now. Like last week we had 47 people at practice, so trying to get that all together, adding new things for them, and teaching them is like just really difficult, because not only are you teaching somebody like, okay, like how do we how to be okay with being in contact, but also just thinking about like trying to learn a game that they've never seen and they only hear about, and they have no like information about, and going from zero to okay, now you have to go play. It is really a tough thing. So just kind of going with that, I mean, it can be really tough because like, yeah, just learning the rules, teaching the rules, and then teaching them, and say like, with women's rugby, it's the only full contact sport for them to be able to go out, and the rules are going to be the same between men's and women's, which isn't a thing with like hockey or lacrosse, where the rules are a little. There's still some contact, but it's not full contact like women's rugby is. So, and then just teaching them how to pass backwards on day one is always a funny look. Like, wait, you've got to you can't pass the ball forward at all. So we always start from there, and it's trying to grow the game as best as possible.
I love that, man. And we, again, I just appreciate what you do. It's been great talking to you, man. Let's obviously stay in contact, and I look forward to seeing how this season goes, man.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated, man. It's gonna be a good time.
Look
We
forward.
got our first game coming up this Saturday, so it'll be awesome. We got 6 games this season, and then we go into our conference playoffs and hopefully national playoffs from there.
I love it. I love it. Keep raising that expectation. Now, nationals isn't a dream anymore. It's kind of the level of that's where you guys are shooting for now, which is real cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we were ranked number 1 for preseason, so now the target's now on our back. Now we can't just say it's a just a thought in our head. Like, it's now people are going to know who we are a little bit more, and that'll be fun to see how we can, um, just fight through expectations and continue to just get better every day.
Look forward to it, man. Take it easy.